welcome to episode number 89 of the KH-Vids Podcast. This week we're doing something a little different. We are going to be flushing out our user-submitted questions rather than just answering a couple at the end. So with us today, you have your usual hosts, of course, myself, Misty.
Me, Libra GKD.
And me, Quilligan.
And as our special staff guest, we have...
C-Star.
Yay!
We're enthused, really, we are.
Yeah. So I'm a little sick this episode, which is why I might sound weird, and I'm just powering through it for you guys because I love you all and because I just made this cancel an episode like 2 weeks ago, so I can't do that again. So before we get into our topic for the day, we're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts news and updates, as per usual. This really isn't a Kingdom Hearts news thing because it's not specifically Kingdom Hearts, but it's still news for us to mention. So Square Enix announced that they're going to have their own E3 conference. Square Enix always, of course, has a presence at E3. They will usually show their stuff at, like, the Sony or Microsoft conferences, and then, of course, have the floor show to show off their things. But this time around, they're having their own conference, like EA, Ubisoft, big developers do, which is really exciting, and it makes sense because they have a lot to show this E3, which we kind of talked about last episode. They've announced a lot in the past couple weeks, and they have a lot of ongoing projects, so it's good, I think, that they're doing their own conference.
It's somewhat exciting, because this year seems to be more publishers getting into actually announcing things, because this is Bethesda. They're announcing, they're holding their own press conference on the Sunday before everybody else, and Square is holding theirs on the Tuesday morning, which is
weird timing.
Yeah, Square's time seems to be kind of where Nintendo usually holds their thing, so I'm curious if Nintendo is just going to say screw it and just continue doing what Nintendo does, or if they'll actually move their time a little bit. The interesting thing about Square, though, is this is the first time they've held a press conference since 2006.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's when they announced Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy Versus 13, and Final Fantasy Agito 13, which became Type 0.
Yeah, and one of those games is still not out.
Whoops.
Yeah, so I think obviously they will be featuring Final Fantasy 15 there. It's going to be, I really expect E3 to be the Final Fantasy 15 news blowout. I think that we might even get a release date at E3 for Final Fantasy 15. So I would bank on a big presence for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I'm expecting about evenness between their Western and Japanese properties.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's something else that we have to keep in mind, that Square Enix isn't just Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, that, they've got the new Tomb Raider in the pipelines, there's the new Deus Ex, and
Deus Ex. I'm so excited for that.
So there's a lot that they can do. I am interested to see how they actually do the conference, which I brought up in the news thread, because, there are good conferences and there are bad conferences. Everybody's going to announce things, and there's that excitement with it, but I always like to have a fun conference, and that's why I always like to watch the Ubisoft conferences, because Aisha Tyler is just so great. And I don't give a shit about what she's saying, but she's just awesome.
Yeah, if I was to put money on, I'd expect it to be somewhat similar to probably EA's.
Yeah,
You'll have a bunch of mostly their Western development people doing the main talking, because being fluent in English is kind of a must.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll see like Hashimoto and other Japanese executives up there announcing or debuting something, but
yeah, I think they'll wheel them out when they need them. And then, of course, we have to talk about the possibility of Kingdom Hearts 3 there. I'm going to be the first negative Nancy and say that I don't think it's really going to have a presence if they show it at all. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I wouldn't expect much out of it.
I am willing to bet that there will be a teaser, like a small teaser.
Like the one they did last time.
Like, this is still happening.
Yeah, like, as in, like, this is, like, 30 seconds worth of footage of whatever.
I was thinking that too, yeah.
I'm also expecting the Kingdom Hearts Super HD collection to get announced there as well.
I guess that is a possibility, that they announce, like, bringing the HD remixes to the PS4, maybe the Xbox One. I doubt it. Again, it's a possibility. I would honestly prefer that in lieu of Kingdom Hearts 3 announcements. Like, I really want Kingdom Hearts 3 announcements, but I just don't think it's at a stage where they're ready to show anything, and I don't want to see it before it's ready, is, I guess, the idea. And so I would rather they announce something new.
As we said, there's also maybe that mobile thing that they have going on.
I don't think they're going to be talking about that at E3.
You don't know.
We never know. Nomura just sounded like a little shady about it. Like, it came off as like, I don't know why he's mentioning this, because this is like a big thing, and I don't know, it was just a weird way to bring it up in like a Famitsu interview offhand.
Maybe not during the press conference, but I think because Square is heavily invested in the mobile space.
Yeah.
So it'll I wouldn't be surprised if it's just kind of there as like, hey, there's also this.
I guess that's a possibility if they're featuring like, oh, these are all the mobile titles that we're going to be putting out, and they show like Record Keeper and everything, and then maybe they mention like, and we have a Kingdom Hearts one on the way. I guess that's a possibility, yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I'm hoping out of this conference is a Final Fantasy XII HD release.
Yeah, well, that's been on your E3 bingo card for like years.
one of these times it's going to be right. Same thing with my Last Guardian prediction. One of these years it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen this year though.
You think Last Guardian is going to happen,
yes.
Or Final Fantasy XII?
Last Guardian.
I think that Final Fantasy XII is more likely.
It's just, I mean, we're getting a little off subject from Square. I just think with The Last Guardian that they aren't going to reveal it until it's coming out like, hey, it's going to come out in 6 months or something like that. And I feel that it's at a stage where it could possibly come out in 6 months.
I mean, I admire your optimism.
It's the one thing I'm optimistic about. Everything else is like, this is never gonna happen.
Yeah, we have this hole kind of in the Japanese Square releases this year, I think, because Final Fantasy XV is not coming out this year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, probably next year.
I would put money on it being out next year.
Yeah, but this year we don't really have anything. So I could see them remastering a Final Fantasy title. I don't know if it'll be Final Fantasy XII. I would love it to be Final Fantasy XII. I don't know if that's happening. And again, like we were saying last episode, that they have been kind of set on this yearly Kingdom Hearts release thing, but we don't have anything for this year. So.
I mean, actually looking at Square as a whole, because they do have a kind of gap in their Japanese release, because they have what? Final Fantasy X,
yeah,
and
that doesn't really count.
Type 0. But yeah, looking at their Western arm, they seem to have quite a bit going for them, because they have Tomb Raider out, and then they're having Just Cause 3 out, which is out this summer. There are some rumors going about that Deus Ex may be out in the fall.
That's so soon.
That wouldn't be surprising though.
No, because like their Western divisions are way more efficient than their Japanese.
But yeah, so I'm sort of excited for Square's stuff. Not only for potential like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts news, but I'm also just kind of like their catalog in general. Mm-hmm. So, and hoping that they announce some new stuff, because new stuff is always fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of sour about Tomb Raider being a timed exclusive for the Xbox One, and I don't expect any news for regarding the PS4 release until after the Xbox One is out. So I'm a little saddened by that.
Unless there's like some, whoops, we weren't supposed to say this.
I was expecting like they're gonna accidentally show like the PS4 version.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, or like, whoops, there's a PS4 logo on here. That wasn't supposed to be
something
here.
like that I was expecting. But yeah, so I mean, if you're a Tomb Raider fan, don't get too excited. If you're a Tomb Raider fan that has a PlayStation 4, if you're a Tomb Raider fan that has an Xbox One, this is your day. Yeah, but that is exciting. E3 is always a lot of fun, and I'm excited that Square is going to have more of a presence at it this year, because last year it wasn't too much. So our topic for the day is user-submitted questions. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you know that we usually save user-submitted questions towards the end, and we do like 3, maybe 4, depending on how long the questions are. But lately, we've been spending a lot of time on user-submitted questions, and we have a huge backlog of user-submitted questions. So this week, we are going to be flushing them out and going through a lot of our old questions and answering them in lieu of a podcast topic, because we didn't have anything to talk about this week.
There's nothing happening.
Yeah, so to go through my usual spiel about user-submitted questions, you can submit a question to the KH-Vids Podcast by filling out the form linked with every episode of the podcast, or sending an email to podcast@KH-Vids.net. The questions can be directed towards the host in particular, or the group in general, and they can be about Kingdom Hearts, to KH-Vids, to our lives in general, anything like that. Send us a question. So the first question from our enormous list is from Shu, who has sent in a lot of questions, and he says, hypothetical situation. The world has gone to hell, global warming made everything terrible, and the apocalypse is here. Temperatures have risen drastically, tsunamis are an all too common occurrence in day-to-day life for most cities, and others have just vanished from the map completely, sunken forever. What are your top 3 favorite colors?
Oh my goodness.
These aren't my top favorite colors, but like given the setup, I'm thinking like red, brown, and yellow, because those to me are like apocalypse colors.
Well, red in general is just a favorite color of mine, so red will always be on any list that mentions color. even in this apocalyptic scenario, I'd be still fond of probably red, green, and blue. Mostly green, because if I see green, that means there's like, there's life here. There's vegetation.
I'd probably go with blue, green, and yellow, because in an apocalyptic future, you probably wouldn't see them that often, so every time you do, it'd be like, oh, look, blue, green.
I get annoyed by yellow. I don't know why, but whenever I see yellow, it somewhat annoys me on a subconscious level.
Most people feel that about red. Like
really?
Yeah, red is the color that like pisses people off.
I mean, I guess I just love red, so I just never noticed it. But
our art teacher was talking about that because I had taken media arts course, and he was saying how like orange and yellow are like risky colors to use in advertisements because a lot of people don't like them. And then red is also associated kind of with anger sometimes, or like passion.
So McDonald's is just an anomaly then,
well,
right?
McDonald's did studies showing that the red and yellow color combination made people like crave food. I don't know if it was connected to like ketchup or like the saltiness or something, but they found a link and that's why like most of the major fast food chains use red and yellow as their scheme. You know, like Wendy's does it, Burger King does it, McDonald's does it. So there is evidence.
Yeah.
I think also with McDonald's, though, it's like, because some of the meals are directed to kids, and I don't think a lot of kids really hate yellow, because I think for kids, yellow's a happy color, but we just, I don't know, grow to hate it or something like that.
It was always weird for me because where I used to live when I was growing up as a kid, it was actually one of the oldest McDonald's restaurants in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And there's some yellow in it, but there's like no red. It's blue and yellow.
Yeah.
And it's just like... And it also had a very weird mascot, but it was just, it wasn't until like, I guess when I was a teenager and up where I started seeing more of like, hey, the classic red and yellow stuff that you kind of see with McDonald's nowadays.
My mom actually did like a study on it once, and for McDonald's in particular and a lot of like fast food chains, they use red like in the interior decorating because when people look at red, like they think it irritates them, and so it makes them want to eat faster to get out of there.
Psychology is fun.
Yeah, I'm always interested to hear what colors people associate with things, and that's why a couple of years ago I did something called the style survey for KH-Vids to see which colors people associate with the Kingdom Hearts series, because I always kind of figured it was like white, black, blue, and like gold. Those to me were always like Kingdom Hearts colors. But when we did the study, I guess not study, but survey, a lot of people said I also associate red with the Kingdom Hearts series, which I had never considered, and I'm still not sure.
With the Kingdom Hearts series?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Sora's like original outfit.
Oh, I was thinking like his pouches in Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know why I never thought his like jumpsuit in Kingdom Hearts 1.
I mean, that makes sense.
I always thought purple.
Purple? Where do you...
Like, in the darkness, there's always purple and black, so I always think purple.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can tell
all
why...
these colors.
Yeah, you can tell that it's been me that's been making the styles, too, because it's always, like, blue, gold, and... because I just like those colors, and those to me have always been Kingdom Hearts colors. But yeah, maybe in the future we'll do some red and purple.
But red in design...
It's hard. It's really tough to use.
It's hard to kind of use in a good way.
Yeah, blue is... I love blue. Blue is my favorite color, so...
Blue is a very nice color.
Yeah.
I like blue.
Yeah. So moving along, the next question is also from Shu, and he says, if you were gifted a puppy for Christmas, the most adorable puppy you have ever laid eyes upon, but you had very mild pet allergies, your skin gets a little itchy, your eyes might get a tiny bit sore, would you keep the dog or find some way of getting rid of it?
I already know what your answer's gonna be.
Yeah. I hate dogs. I'm sorry. People say that that's like a reflection of me as a human being. It's not. I've just been attacked by a lot of dogs in my life, and don't give me the like, but you would like my dog. I wouldn't. I'm afraid of dogs. I don't like them. I don't want to be around them. So I would get rid of the dog, no matter how cute it was.
I mean, I'd probably just keep it, considering I already kind of have a dog. So if in this hypothetical scenario, if I had allergies, then I'd be dealing with them already.
I just take a lot of allergy medication because, like, I always wanted a dog. My mom does not. And I hope as we get older, she'll change her mind about that. But I don't think that she ever will. So if I got to keep it, I'd be pretty happy enough to get rid of my allergy. And, like, exile the family members that are allergic to pets because we have a lot of those.
I actually had an aunt that had, like, a cat. It's not exactly the same scenario. That had a cat that she really loved and, like, but she was, like, had a mild allergy to it, and she kept the cat. But, like, over time, she ended up getting a lot of, like, serious medical issues because she kept purposefully exposing herself to the cat even though she loved it. I don't think I'd want to, like, bring myself to have something like that happen, so I'd probably, like, give the dog to somebody I know, so
you can have
just
visitation.
So I could see it. Huh?
Have visitation rights.
Yeah.
Partial custody. The problem is that one of the big allergy symptoms is like itchy, watery eyes. I get really bad watery eyes whenever I'm sick, like insufferably bad. So I would not do anything to like tempt fate even further with that. Like when I get sick, it's sometimes that I can't even keep my eyes open because they're so badly watery. It's terrible.
That sounds awful.
It is. It really is awful. And they get like red. It's not a good look for me. Which is why I'm glad sometimes that the podcast is not video based. Yeah. So next question is from Graxe, and it's a Graxe question. What would you do for a single fruit the size of a grapefruit from the tree of knowledge, either the biblical one or the one where the fruit contains absolutely all knowledge ever? The fruit is edible and will never spoil even after being half eaten, but is completely flavorless and has no texture. What would you do for a single fruit from the tree of knowledge?
What would I do?
It's that classic question of like, do you take the forbidden fruit, you know? Do you want to open that, I was going to say Pandora's box, but that's just getting into too much mythology and crossing over, and I don't want to do that.
It ain't no Klondike bar.
Yeah, like if it wasn't a serious like thing to get it, you know, if I didn't have to like go through a lot of shit to get it, then yeah, sure, I'll take a bite. But if I had to like put effort into it, probably not.
How much effort is too much effort?
I don't know, anything that requires me like leaving the house is like a lot of effort.
So basically if it just appeared on your like nightstand.
Exactly. That would be perfect. Yeah.
Then like sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been to I'm not sure what I would it's the fruit of knowledge, but I'm not sure exactly what I could gain or if I can even comprehend what I would gain.
Yeah.
From that.
Cuz it's always like temptation that gets people to, you know, like open Pandora's box or eat from the tree of knowledge or anything like that. But for that temptation to be there, the object kind of has to be in front of you and you have to be told like, don't do this. But if it's like some far off thing that you have to work to get, I think that very few people would do it.
Yeah, I mean, unless this is something they've obsessed about and, you know, they've tried everything they can to like try to figure out where is this, and then all of a sudden there's this thing like, hey, if you just do this you can have it, then yeah, I could see those type of people going for it. But for me it's such a thing that I can't really comprehend what it would be, that I'm just kind of like, I guess I'll be fine without ever eating it, I guess. Yeah, like if somebody said like, hey, there's this magical fruit you can eat and like your whole life will change, I'd be like, I don't know about that. Like that's a little shady. Like I don't want to. Who knows how it could change? Exactly, because change isn't always good. Change could be very, very bad. It could be, and in a lot of these stories, it is very, very bad for some people. That is also very true. We have to keep in context of these stories. Yeah. Things usually go really bad. Yeah. So far be it from me to side with the Bible, but there are some things just better off not going there.
I'd probably take it. I'm at that point.
But what would you do? What would you do to take it though?
I don't know. Pretty much anything at this point. Because,
would you kill someone? A man?
Maybe. It depends on who it was. I mean, and maybe if you had all the knowledge in the world, you could figure out how to bring them back. So I mean, it's not that big of a problem. But like, I feel like I'm at that point in school where you have to actually try for stuff. But if I had all the knowledge in the world, then I'd be set, okay?
I would kill somebody to pass my finals.
No, like, seriously, though. It's so... Oh, my goodness. Okay. That's the first thing that came into my head. I need this forbidden fruit so I can pass that, so I can get good grades. Of
all the uses of this knowledge, I just needed to pass my exam. Yeah,
forget about curing cancer, like solving, you know, like world hunger. Just the finals are really important. All right. Next question is from Amaury. It's a little long, so get ready. I know this is more of a me thing, but my friend and I were talking about this a while ago, and I want to see what you guys thought. In Kingdom Hearts 2, when Simba falls into critical health, he says, I can't do this. When he gets knocked out, he says, it's up to you now. When he comes to, either from enough time passing or being healed, he says, it's not over. Do you guys feel these fit Simba's character? Why or why not? My friend was saying that he feels the falling into critical health battle cry makes more sense during your first visit to the Pride Lands, but it could have been changed to something else afterward, like some other games, depending on where you were in the story. I mean, Simba is saying it, so it is kind of in character, just for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, it seems fine.
Yeah, they're pretty basic battle cries too. Like
you can probably put those onto anybody.
Yeah,
almost, because
yeah.
It's like, what else would you say? Like,
yeah. And the other thing too is that, like, yes, they could have made it change. Like, they could have made super unique battle cries to all of the characters and like had it change depending on where you were in the story. But that's a lot of work that wouldn't have a huge payoff, because to be honest, most people don't really notice the battle cries that much, because, you know, like, with all the other sound effects that are going on during battle, like, the battle cries aren't really what people are focusing on.
Kingdom Hearts is a very loud game.
It is, but the one exception is Donald fucking Duck. That is the one thing that just, like, blasts through all of the other sound effects, just Donald squeaking. Like, it honestly shocks me that I'm as big a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series that I am, because Donald is so annoying.
He is.
His voice is so high that it travels through all the other sounds, because everything else is kind of low, like the keyblade whacking and, you know, all the character voices. I can't think of any of the allies that have a higher voice than Donald, except, I don't know, in Kingdom Hearts 2 they didn't even have Ariel in there, so that's a bad example, but like everybody else has such a low voice that Donald's just like, you know, he's traveling through the atmosphere.
Then there needs to be under sound options a Donald toggle where you can just kind of slide it down.
Plus,
notch or two.
Donald is an asshole. Like, he does not heal you. He wastes all his magic healing Goofy, and then when you, like, need him to nowhere to be found, you'll, like, heal yourself, and then he'll throw a potion at you right as you're healing yourself, and you're like, wow, thanks for your great
It's
timing,
reasons like
Donald.
that, I just don't put any items on any of my allies.
Yeah.
In fact, whenever an ally joins my party for that world, I take everything off of them and give it to myself and just leave them with nothing.
Yeah, if I ever give them anything, it's always like mega potions. That way I get like the benefits of them.
Like, at least I get hit by this in some capacity.
Yeah.
I usually give Donald MP stuff because you can't really go wrong with using, I feel like you can't really go wrong with using the MP stuff at a wrong time like you can with the HP.
Donald and Goofy waste their MP though.
Have
like,
they? I don't know.
Yeah, I
didn't
noticed that. I get annoyed.
See, this is another reason why Birth by Sleep is one of the best games. Because
you don't have
to worry. You don't have Donald, but you also don't have to worry about party members being stupid.
Yeah, well, Chain of Memories had that too.
That is also a great game.
Am I the only person who got healed by Donald often?
Like, he would heal you, but never when you needed it.
No, it was always when I needed it.
Oh, well...
Like, the times he's healed me is when I had, like, 1 or 2 hits off of my health bar. And it was like, oh, you just wasted a Curiga spell for nothing.
The one thing he was useful for, he would always cast Aereo, and that
is true.
That was good. I liked him for that. But no, he never healed me when I needed it. Lucky you.
Allies in general were terrible.
Yeah, that is one thing that I would like to see improved in future Kingdom. I think that Kingdom Hearts 2 did it a little better, because you had some control. Like, I remember there being menus where you could say, like, how often they use certain skills and everything.
It was like a rudimentary gambit system.
Yeah, and so I would like them to expand on that a little bit. And I also liked that in Kingdom Hearts 2 you got, like, the limit abilities. I really enjoyed those, and I thought that I would like those to return. So, and I liked also that in The World That Never Was, for whatever reason, this was the only place that did it, but you could kind of control Riku a little bit. You could have him do, like, you know, his dark aura attack or something. I forget what it was called. But you could control him to some extent, and I liked that. So I would like to have a better control over my allies, because they're terrible.
Yeah, this is kind of what makes me curious about how the ally control is in 15. That seems like it could go wrong just as much as Kingdom Hearts went wrong when it came to AI-controlled allies.
Yeah. One thing that I liked about Final Fantasy XV from what I saw is that the allies would kind of, like, keep a distance away from you, because one of the things, again, that always drove me crazy about Kingdom Hearts is that, like, if you're trying to do some of the, like, platforming aspects of it, Donald and Goofy would just be in your way, and it would drive you crazy.
Speaking of
and they
which,
pushed you off.
Yes!
Too. I mean, like, I'll try, Monster is the only thing that comes to mind right now, but I'll try to grab onto, like, the planks and stuff to get chests, and Donald will get up there, and he's just like, nope, and throws you back down, and I'm like, oh.
Speaking of bad AI, I've been replaying Mass Effect, and I have Rex and Garrus in my party. There have been so many times where I've just hugged up against a wall to take cover, and Rex is on one side of me, and Garrus is right in front of me, and I can't move at all.
Oh, yeah, Mass Effect 1 is really bad about that.
I got killed so many times because I got people shooting at me, and I want to get away, but I can't move.
Yeah, thankfully Mass Effect 1 has that function where you can use the D-pad to, like, call your squad mates, like, over to a certain way, but, like, Kingdom Hearts, you have no control over where they are. And Goofy always glided a lot for me in Kingdom Hearts. Like, I would just be running through an area, and, like, all of a sudden Goofy is, like, gliding down from the sky, and I'm just like, where did you come from? Like, what are you doing?
Yes, exactly. And when they fall off the edge, too, like in Deep Jungle, if they fall off the edge, for me, he would come out from, like, the top of the, jungle, wherever, and he would glide down, and I was just like, this makes no sense at all, but alright. Yeah. You do your thing, Goofy, it's okay.
I always liked Goofy's battle cries, though. Goofy was, like,
Goofy's
my favorite as a child. Yeah, so I liked his. I like hearing him be like, gosh, and, like, everything. So I always liked Goofy's battle cries.
Goofy's a good person.
I like Goofy. It's hard not to like Goofy.
It's easy to hate Donald, though.
Oh,
Donald's
yeah.
an asshole.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Next question is from Graxe, and he says, you find out you are a demigod. Which god or goddess from any pantheon conceived you? I mean, the easy answer is Zeus, because Zeus has a hand or something else in the birth of, like, every demigod and god and anything in mythology.
That's a good question, though.
But there are others that you
If we get to choose who our parent was.
Yeah.
Aphrodite for me, because I'm just, like, that vain right now.
If we're talking Greek, I've always been kind of fond of Athena, but she was a virgin goddess, so that'd be...
This is mythology. Like,
that is also
you can
true.
do whatever you want.
That is also true. I'm actually trying to think of, like... I took a whole course on Greek mythology last semester in college, and it's, like, all gone.
Yeah, I read Metamorphoses occasionally, so that's like me. So I don't know if I'm saying them right, but I always liked Demeter, she's Persephone's mom, and Persephone kind of had some shitty things happen to her, so I wouldn't like to emulate that. But I always liked her, and I liked Eos? E-O-S? Eos? Yeah, I don't know.
Eros.
I liked her.
Like love?
It's like dawn and kind of like hope, I think.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of a god, I was thinking of a titan.
Oh, okay.
Or not titan. It wasn't a god, though, but it was higher up on the food chain, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. Demeter is interesting because same thing with Artemis. Artemis is pretty interesting as well. The entire the ode to Demeter is actually probably one of my favorite odes, because her entire thing is, Persephone gets taken, and then she is so distraught, like, you know what? I'm going to kill all of humanity if Persephone isn't given back to me. Yeah. But yeah, that entire thing where she becomes like a housemaid for someone because she is still in disguise and trying to just cope and just.
Also, Dionysus.
Dionysus is wonderful. I said I took a course on Greek myth last semester. Like, a few semesters before that, I took a course entirely dedicated to Dionysus, and Dionysus is wonderful. I like Dionysus.
Yeah.
His entire story as well is pretty... There is a reason why when the Greek gods started going out of fashion, Dionysus was one of the few where people still worshipped him.
Because he's like the best.
He's the best. And not only the best, he was the only Olympian to actually ascend from being not mortal. Like, he was immortal, and then... I mean, not mortal, not immortal. He was immortal and became immortal, and then he eventually became an Olympian god and displaced Hestia in the 12 Olympians. Dionysus is also somebody who's just kind of all about free fun and lovin' type thing.
Mm-hmm. Sea Star, any answer? Or?
I said Poseidon because I'm Sea Star. And C, I like the ocean. So...
Oh, wow, I didn't get that. You explained it.
Poseidon is the god of earthquakes and horses.
Well, I like horses, and earthquakes scare me, so there we go. Although, I mean, I guess if I want to just throw in, like, some Norse in here, I guess I wouldn't mind being some sort of child of Loki, because troublemaking is fun.
Well,
Yeah,
But at the
Norse...
same time,
I was about
Norse
to say that
mythology-
we've been focusing
Norse
on
is
Greek.
complicated.
Yeah, and in Norse mythology, Loki is, like, born from a cow or something, or...
Yeah.
So I don't know how
I mean,
that
I mean,
would
to-
work.
To be fair, most mythology can get really complicated.
Oh, yeah. I'm
Like
pretty sure it's
Norse-
Norse mythology also where, like, the cow was born from one of the, like, giant sweat or something. It's weird how the gods come into being.
Like, I'm actually I'm not familiar with Egyptian origin myths, where they came from. It's weird because I know a lot else about them, but I don't know their origin stories.
I've never read any Egyptian mythology, actually.
Some of them is actually pretty interesting.
Everything I know comes from Yu-Gi-Oh! So...
That is a fine blueprint to follow.
That's, like, basically the same as reading actual Egyptian mythology. Just read Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, next question is from Graxe as well, and he asks,
We
is the glass...
should just do a podcast on mythology, because there is
Yeah,
a lot
really.
of just fun stuff you can talk about from all corners of the world.
Yeah, but Graxe asks, is the glass half empty, half full, or needs more liquid? I've always been a half full kind of gal myself.
I've always been half empty.
Oh, well.
It's just half a glass of water.
I've always been half empty because I always like to think, oh, I'm almost out, I better refill this.
I always like to the people that say, like, well, it depends. If you filled up the glass, then drank out of it, it's half empty. But if you just filled it up halfway, then it's half full. And I always thought that that's like, okay, well, then you're a realist, I guess.
Yeah, that is a valid way to look at
Yeah.
things.
Or relativism, I guess, would be
I'm
more
surprised.
often.
I'm surprised I never really thought of that.
Yeah,
It was just like, oh yeah, that sure
yeah.
My
goes against the spirit of the question.
My favorite answer to that question is when somebody said to me, like, when somebody asked, is the glass half empty or half full? They said, who cares about the glass? We're all going to die anyway. And I'm like, you must be a fatalist.
Not gonna lie, that was my joke answer.
Or like the glass is poisoned or something.
Yeah, something like that.
My whole thing about this and about, like, life philosophy is that it's just kind of easier to decide one day that the glass is half full and that's just how I'm gonna look at everything and everything else. Just, like, stick your fingers in your ears and, like, don't hear anything else. And, like, maybe that is unrealistic and impractical and immature, but goddamn if it doesn't just make living easier. And that's my philosophy.
That's philosophy for the day. Philosophy hour with Cassie.
Yeah. Okay, next question then is from Quilligan or Drew. And Nick, I have a feeling you're going to like this question. Has anyone ever played a Deus Ex game? How do you feel about Deus Ex Mankind Divided?
I am excited. I really enjoyed Human Revolution. Well, I'm also just a sucker for cyberpunk things in general. But Deus Ex, Human Revolution had some problems with mostly its boss fights, because for whatever reason, they decided to outsource their boss fights. So the entire game was made by, like, the main team, and then I forgot who they said, okay, you guys make the boss fights. And so that happened, and the boss fights just didn't meld in with the rest of the game very well.
That is super weird.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things about Deus Ex is that it's very much an RPG, and they're like, you can play however you want, and they have weapons and they have guns and all this other stuff, but you can also just kind of stealth your way through the entire thing, or even stealth in a way where you aren't killing anybody. You're literally just ghosting through the entire game. And whenever you got up to a boss fight, like, all of that just went out the window because the people who made the boss fights, like, oh, you have to kill them. And it's like, well, that's kind of no fun. From the sounds of it, Mankind Divided is taking is kind of not doing that, where they're actually developing it all in sync, and kind of everything is made. I think the developers have gone out and said, like, oh yeah, you can ghost throughout the entire game if you wanted. So I'm actually really excited for Deus Ex. It kind of came out of nowhere back in 2000. I want to say 11 because there was a game before Human Revolution. It was for the PS2, but I never touched it for one reason or another. And then Human Revolution came out and was like, wow, this is amazing.
So I could start with Human Revolution? Because I've always been interested in getting into the series because I like the setting, and when Human Revolution came out, it just like caught my eye. But I knew that there was like a game or two before that, and I didn't know if I could jump in there. And now like the new one, it looks pretty cool, so I would like to get into the series.
The timeline is that the first Deus Ex game is like still way in the future before both Human Revolution and Mankind Divided.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember my timeline correctly, but I think Mankind Divided takes place like during a time where the main character in the first Deus Ex is like 6.
Oh.
But yeah, because like Human Revolution, I mean, the first Deus Ex takes place when, you know, there's cybernetics and all this other stuff going on already. Human Revolution kind of sets up like, this is the, as the title suggests, this is kind of the breakout point for cybernetic stuff. So it's this, there's this entire thing of going on like, oh, is this ethical or is this okay? Or
yeah.
So, and Mankind Divided kind of follows along with that, kind of expanding upon it. But it doesn't really have, as far as I know, it doesn't have that much to do with Deus Ex, the first game.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because I've always wanted to get into the series, and so
would recommend.
Yeah.
If you're a PlayStation Plus member at any point in the past year, it was on PlayStation Plus.
Human Revolution was?
Yeah.
Oh, so I probably have it.
Hopefully.
if I
redeemed
remembered.
it. If you redeemed it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new game because it looks great.
It looks like, just on a graphical standpoint, wow.
I just have a very weird thing for like cyberpunk and like robotic augmentations to people, and I'm just excited.
Yeah.
If I can get a robot arm today, I would.
I don't know about that. I think that's taken a little too far.
I mean, I'm talking about if they were as advanced as in like Deus Ex.
Yeah. Are you guys into the series at all, or can we just scoot on?
As a GMV editor, I've seen people use the cutscenes before, and it looks really cool, but I don't think I can play Deus Ex. Isn't it just for the PlayStation?
It's on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Oh, okay, so if it's on Xbox, I can probably find it at some point. But I've seen cutscenes for it because when people edit the music videos to it, like, people tend to find as many, like, they like to put futuristic settings often, so they tend to use Deus Ex. And it looks really good. I don't really know much about it, but
I think that with a lot of the games like Deus Ex, that like, even if it's not like the best game, kind of the setting makes up for it a little bit, and that's kind of the point that I've reached with the Order 1886 too. That like, it's not the best game. There's some weird things about it. There's some things that I would change, but the setting is just like so neat that I'll play anything with it. Okay, next question is also from Quilligan. He actually has, like, all of our next questions, so, yeah. Which power would you rather have? The power to read minds, but you fart the whole time, or the ability to fly, except you lose an arm and a leg, so it's gonna cost you, pun intended.
Can I?
Neither?
I mean,
like...
yeah, I mean, if I had to choose, I choose the... I don't want to be able to read people's minds. That is something
that's
I
just,
don't
like,
want.
don't go there.
I don't want that power at all, and people who want that power, I am very wary of them. And I don't want to lose an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I would rather... I mean, I guess if you could fly, it's not...
I mean, I'm not even that big on flying, which is the bad part about this. It's like, if I could fly, I mean, okay.
I mean, I've always thought about being able to fly, but, like, first of all, I kind of wouldn't want to deal with wings. Like, as cool as wings look, it'd just be easier not to have wings. And the other thing, too, is that, like, if I was able to fly, I would want to be the only person who could fly. Because if the sky was filled with other people flying, then it would just be like driving again, where there's traffic and everything. But if I was the only one who could fly, that would be a different story.
There is bigger sky than there are roads.
Yeah. But it's also an issue
altitude.
of, like, altitude and, like, yeah.
Oh, well, no, I've gone too high, I can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this question actually reminds me of, there's a scene in Parks and Rec where Tom, goes to Spa-Nee, which is a spa place, and he sits in a hot tub with all these old guys, and he gives them, like, all these ridiculous would-you-rathers, and then, like, when they give him an answer, he says, like, I forgot to tell you, and there's, like, this awful downside to whatever they choose. So I would just go with neither.
And everybody who gives wishes always has an awful downside to them.
Yeah. If you like the whole, like, downside to wishes thing, there's a great episode of The X-Files, where there's this genie, and, like, the one example that I always remember is somebody wishes for, like, world peace, so, like, she kills everyone.
By the way, how great is it that there's going to be a small mini X-Files series?
I don't know how to feel about it. The X-Files is a totally different subject for me to get on, because I have a weird,
Though honestly, at the point of my, like, oh, these are great things, and they're going to be taken away from me, I'm expecting, like, the Twin Peaks thing. I was really excited for that, and then, like, oh, never mind. Or the Silent Hills thing. I'm really excited for that. Like, oh. Next thing, I'm just going to assume something with the new X-Files thing is just going to get canceled, or just it's not going to pan out.
Yeah.
But well.
Back to the question. C-Star and Cal, you have anything to weigh in?
Well, I mean, it depends. I wouldn't want to lose an arm and the leg, so I'd probably go with the mind reading, but it depends how loud the farts are.
That's true.
You know, if they're quiet and, like, nobody will notice them, then, you know, it's okay. But if they're, like, really loud, then that's not cool.
Well, here's a good question. Would you rather have really loud farts that don't smell, or silent farts that stink?
Silent, because then nobody knows it was me.
The age-old question.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with the silent thing.
I like my arms and I like my legs, but I'd love to fly. I don't want to read minds, but I fart all the time anyway. So
difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I could fly but fart all the time, that would be...
Oh yeah, because when you're in the sky,
switch.
nobody cares. Although you would be contributing to greenhouse gases that way, so that is a problem. I'm just thinking, have any of you seen Home?
I...
No.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you did see Home?
Yes.
Okay.
There's weird reasons behind this.
Okay. Well, I liked their car is fueled by, like, slushies, so they have, like, bubbles coming out of it. I'm just picturing that, like, when you're flying, you just have, like, farts coming out of you, like, continuously, and that's kind of what, like, enables you to fly. That would actually be a really funny, like, I don't know, movie. If somebody, like, flew, but they farted the whole time. I don't know.
Go to Hollywood. I'm sure they'll love it.
Yeah, ring them up. Marvel, I got an idea for you. This next question is also from Quilligan, and he directs it towards Nick. What is your ideal vacation?
Oh, my God. This is a really interesting question, because I don't remember the last time I've been on vacation to anywhere. Like, I want to say it was, like, maybe 2010. But anyway, that is actually what I would actually think would be ideal is just a year-long travel across the world. because I love traveling, or I should rather say I love the idea of traveling, because I haven't really traveled. So just being able to go to different countries and experience different cultures and experience different foods and things and just everything would just be such a great thing and a wonderful vacation out of it.
Any specific places you would want to hit, or just like everywhere?
I'd almost want to just go everywhere. I mean, I'd probably make my path starting on the East Coast of America, because I've never been there. Outside of one time in 2004, where I was visiting family in Rhode Island. And then I'd make my way to, like, I don't know, Europe. Probably that would be the closest. So I'd go to, like, England and just Britain in general, and then go down into France and then Germany, and then just make my way east, I guess. Like, there are countries out there where I'd be kind of afraid to go to, from a safety and political standpoint.
But you would want to go there just.
But I would want to go there because it is such a weird and out of, like, why would you go there?
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that would be interesting. Like, in the entirety of, like, Southeast Asia would be interesting too, because I guess my grandparents are from Indonesia, and Indonesia would be an interesting place to go to. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Vietnam and Laos and just kind of that area.
Yeah. Yep.
Everywhere would be cool. Wouldn't it though? Like, almost anywhere you can go besides here, where I am.
I've never had the whole, like, urge to travel thing. I've always been lazy about my vacations. Like, first of all, Disney World, and, like, otherwise, like,
That's still a plane trip, at least.
Yeah. I like, the vacation that I've always taken, the one that I always like to take, and the one that I'm going to take again in June, is going upstate. My family has, like, property up there. So we, like, go up to the country, we walk around in the woods, we hang around, we just kind of, like, lay around, and that's, like, perfect to me.
Yeah, it's just, I just like the idea of experiencing other cultures and
and I think that that's neat, and like I guess to an extent I'm interested in that too, but I just like being lazy. That's
You could be lazy. I mean, you can just travel to like one place and just be lazy for like the month you're there or whatever. I'm in Japan, I'm just gonna sit around my hotel and just go shopping or whatever. I'm working with the notion I have an unlimited budget.
So next question is directed towards Cal, and it is also from Quilligan, and he asks, when was the first time you found out Santa Claus wasn't real? If you never believed in him or something, then what is your favorite childhood memory?
You mean he isn't real?
I hope there aren't children
Sorry,
watching.
kids.
I can't even remember. I never got that, like, I don't know, the Santa Claus isn't real talk from my parents. So, yeah, I don't really know. I probably heard it at school and, like, denied it. But I have a feeling that it was probably one of those things where I was in, like, grade 6 or 7 and had no idea. And people probably laughed at me, too. So that's what I imagine happened, but
That's a weird thing to imagine.
No, I mean, like, because in my head, that's probably how things would have gone.
True.
That's interesting, though, because I feel like everybody has, like, some kind of story about, like, how they found out Santa wasn't real, but you're just like, I just gotta... So, like, at what point did you say to your parents, like, I know it's not?
I never have. Because I have my younger sister, and I have cousins, too, so I haven't really, like, there was no big confrontation with my mom.
Oh,
my sister will try to trick her into saying that, like, things like the Easter Bunny and stuff aren't real, but my mom just, like, adamantly denies it.
I love, like, there's just this mutual understanding, like, yeah, we know you don't know.
I think that that's interesting, though, kind of how the dynamic changes regarding, like, your sibling situation, because I was the youngest. My sisters knew before me, but they kind of told me, so there was never that, like, we have to keep it a secret for Cassie, which, I mean, that says a lot about my sisterly dynamic, that once they knew, just nobody gave a shit about maintaining the illusion for me. But, so I guess when you are the older sibling, then there is that whole, like, I'm not really gonna say anything just because I have to keep it going for them.
On the down low.
Yeah, on the DL. I guess I technically have a younger sibling. I have my half-sister, but I don't see her that much. There's not really that opportunity to give things away. And also just, like, all the times that we would be, like, talking about it, she was a baby and, like, too young to understand what was going on, so...
Too young to understand the concept of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
There's this old man who breaks into your house every night.
It really is horrifying. And if you look at, like, the Santa Claus, like, stories around the world, I think it's Germany. They have this guy called Hans Muff, who, like, beats children if they're bad, and he's, like, evil Santa Claus.
There is, the Dutch is another really weird one, where if you're naughty, he'll take you away, he'll steal you from your...
I think
home
that's
and
Hans
take you
Muff.
away.
I think that I am...
It could be just a shared thing between Germany and...
The whole idea of Santa Claus and, like, these weird, like, holiday mascots, it's very, very strange. I don't know how that came about. And that's something that, my dad has always said that he doesn't like the idea of Santa Claus, and he never liked the idea of, like, lying to your kids, which, Dad, you did a really good job not doing that in other places, but, that's always been an interesting question to me, that, like, if I ever have kids, would I do the whole Santa Claus thing? Because I think it's kind of an outdated concept, I guess, that I understand that it's a little manipulative in a way, that it's like, oh, well, you better be good or Santa's not going to get you toys. Like, that whole idea is just very strange to me, and I don't like the idea of telling that to my kids.
Well, that's what fairy tales were for, right? Like, to teach children, like, Little Red Riding Hood's probably the best example. Don't go into the woods or the wolf will eat you. Like, stuff like that. I don't know if I may just... I might make my own version of Santa Claus, so I'm not making stuff up, but at the same time still giving them that like,
it's
I don't know what I would do.
Made up stuff.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like Santa Claus fanfiction. Like, just figure out a way that I'm able to give them the magic of Santa Claus without actually using Santa Claus.
I mean, the magic of Santa Claus came in that you got gifts.
Yeah, and the thing about the fairy tales is that, like, fairy tales teach you lessons, you know, it tells you, like, Little Red Riding Hood, you know, don't trust strangers, that kind of thing. But with Santa, like, what is the lesson that's being taught there? That do good things because you're gonna get good stuff to happen to you in return? Like, I guess that's the idea behind karma, but that it becomes, like, a material thing is weird for me. That, you know, do good things or you'll get, like, cool toys and we'll buy you things.
That's why you should do good things, because
yeah, that I would rather them learn, like, do good things because that's what good people do.
You should do good things.
That's what you should do, you know? I don't know. It's weird. I mean, this is why I'm not a parent, because I don't have these things figured out.
The Santa Claus question. One of the biggest things parents have to decide.
It is a big question. And I think that Santa Claus scares some kids. I remember my sister was afraid of the Easter Bunny, like, badly. Like, really, really badly.
I mean, I don't remember because I was a kid, or a baby, I should say, but my kids say when we went one of those mall Santa things, I was, like, really freaked out about the whole experience.
Oh, I never went to one of those. But I don't have a chimney or a fireplace. So, like,
same here.
Yeah, so I remember asking Mom, like, how does Santa Claus get in? And she would say, like, oh, we leave the door open for him. Like, what if somebody robs us? Like,
yeah, that was a weird question for us, too, because I didn't have a chimney or anything, and I lived in an apartment complex. So the entire thought of leaving a door open when there's, like, 20 other people living within walking distance, and just, I don't know, that always seemed weird.
My parents did the thing when I was in when I lived in an apartment, like, well, the first few years when I was, like, a little too dumb, we made, like, tissue paper chimneys in our house that he could magically turn into a chimney because we put it there. But after that, like, we got, like, a Santa key, and it was a key that you put on the door of your, like, house, but it doesn't actually, like, open your house, but Santa can use it to magically turn it into a key that works, like, for your apartment.
oh, wow.
That's great. I would just, like, hang a Keyblade outside, because I'm gonna be that parent that, like, imposes kingdom hearts on my kids.
Why is there a key on my door? Oh, it's Santa's key.
Yeah, it's Santa's Keyblade, guys. Santa is secretly a Keyblade master, and that's how he gets in the house.
Yeah, so next question is from Quilligan or Drew, and this one is directed towards me, so I'm going to ask myself a question. Are you a fan of the Mortal Kombat series? Are you stoked and or psyched for Mortal Kombat X? So, I have played fighting games in my life. I was really into Soul Calibur for a while.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, and I'm terrible at them, but I really like Soul Calibur. So, like, I'm not averse to fighting games or anything, and I still kind of, like, if a friend has one, we'll, like, play it for fun. But I've never had a particular interest in the Mortal Kombat series, mostly just because, like, I was always into Soul Calibur, and the Mortal Kombat series, of course, is super gory, and that never really, like, sat completely right with me. I've kind of gotten jaded towards gore, so that's not really a barrier anymore. And Mortal Kombat X caught my attention just because there's a character named Cassie Cage, which is very close. I mean, my name is Cassie, first of all, and my last name is kind of close to that. I have the whole alliteration thing going on. So, like, that was exciting. And then seeing her fatality, which I think we talked a little bit about in a previous episode, her fatality was really awesome. So Mortal Kombat X did definitely catch my eye. I don't think that I'm going to be buying it anytime soon, but maybe if I see it on sale one day, I'll pick it up. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not averse to Mortal Kombat X, but I just want to play as Cassie Cage.
Of course you do.
Yeah. I've always
Who wouldn't want
that.
to play as themselves,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I've always liked that because, like, I for a lot of reasons, I don't like my last name, but I've always liked how my last name sounds with my first name. So I always kind of felt like it was kind of superhero-y, and I think that Batgirl, her name, or one of the Batgirls, is Cassandra Cain, which I always liked too. So I'm conceited, and I get enticed into things because of my name.
I can't think of many main characters that has my name. The last one I remember is the Dead Rising 3. I think his name is Nick Ramos or something like that. Which, that besides the Nick part, that is nothing.
I mean, I play a lot of, like, fantasy things, so,
that
you
is
know,
also true.
There's not going to be, like, a Nick and a Cassie running around. I guess Cassandra, though, is kind of used in fantasy settings, because it comes from Greek mythology and everything. But
Soul Calibur.
Yeah. But I never liked to play as Cassandra, so that's
I
weird.
I didn't like Cassandra or Sophitia.
Sophitia, yeah. I just didn't like their fighting style. Plus, Keelik, my boy. Yeah, but I would sometimes use her for the novelty factor of like when the announcer like says like, Cassandra, I'm like, yeah, that's me. So
go into tournaments with that's your gimmick. Play characters with your name.
Yeah. But I also don't really go by Cassandra, so I never associate that as like my name. Like, nobody ever calls me Cassandra. It's weird for me when people call me Cassandra. So, like, even just saying it over and over, like, Cassandra, I don't think of that as, like, that is my name. I'm getting, like, freaked out a little bit right now.
It's okay, Cassie. Your name's Cassie.
Yeah,
Your name's Cassie.
Yeah, I've just always gone by Cassie. Even Cass, I've had a weird relationship with, because nobody ever really called me it as a kid, except for my dad. No. And not to say that it has negative associations for that reason, but like it was always interesting to me to see like at what point people would start calling me Cass and like who called me Cass. So like I know on KH-V a lot of people call me Cass, and that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with that. But it's just it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember when I started calling you Cass.
Yeah, I think
I don't use it all that often.
Yeah,
still call you Cassie, but.
It's just weird to me, and I like to see, like, who calls me Cass and who calls me Cassie. Like, my sister, like, exclusively calls me Cass, and that, it's strange, and I think that she got it from my dad, and, like, I noticed that my boyfriend recently, he only calls me Cass, and so, I don't know, it's strange, I don't know. I always like looking at
names are weird.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, but like with the username stuff, it's always interesting to see when people will switch from Kalaxin and then into Kalen, or like there's kind of the Kalaxin, Cal, and then Kalen, and then some of my friends call me Kale for some reason because they saw my friends in the other chat calling me Cal, and they're like, oh, well, why do you call yourself Cal? And I'm like, because of Kalaxin. And they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense because the I in your name's over there, so we're going to call you Kale now. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of strange because, like, I can remember people kind of, it was like, I don't know, it was just a switch, and I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, well, can I call you that? Sure. Some people just didn't ask, they just didn't, and I was like, all right,
Yeah. And seeing, like, when people stopped calling me Misty and started calling me Cassie, like, it's strange. I love looking at nicknames.
Like,
I think nicknames are so interesting.
I think I only call you Misty. I try to call you Misty when we're on the podcast because...
But that never happened.
Yeah, that ended up never happening. But yeah, I don't really have the same relationship with my full name as you do. Because obviously my full name is Nicholas.
Uh-huh. Well, that's not always an obviously, because one of my coworkers, his name is Alex, but it's just Alex. Like, his full name is not Alexander.
No, but I mean, I don't think anyone's full name is Nick. Is it?
There are people.
Okay. I stand corrected. The one thing I always found funny, the one thing that kind of stopped me using my full name a lot is that people would misspell it. Like, I've gotten so many weird misspellings of my first name that I just, like, I just leave it at Nick.
Will you spell it as Nicholas?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I know that there's, like, the Greek spelling with, the K.
Yeah, there's that. I've had it with just a C and no H.
Oh.
I've had it with, instead of an A, it's an O. Yeah, I've had a lot of things. Same thing with my last name, actually. People always misspell that, which is really weird to me. But, yeah.
Next question, and yeah, this one is from Quilligan also, and he asks, here's a question for everyone. Have any of you ever met anyone famous or relevant?
I define meet. I've seen. I've never met.
Yeah, the story I was going to tell, I went to see the band, they don't really have an appropriate name for this podcast, but I'm going to say it anyway because I have feelings about why it's not appropriate. It's Perfect Pussy. So I went to see Perfect Pussy in the city, and we were standing outside the venue waiting in the line for the doors to open because we got there a little early. And, you know, we were just standing out there talking and everything, and I see her walk out of the venue and, like, walk down the street, and she was, like, a foot away from me, and I really wanted to say, like, oh my god, you're Meredith Graves, because I internet stalk her, and I'm obsessed with her, and so I was, like, freaking out. I'm, like, standing there, like, oh my god, and I didn't want to be that creepy person that, like, attack somebody on the sidewalk and be like, you're famous, especially because like I think that she has said, you know, like I don't like when people like recognize me and like kind of like jump on me, and so I didn't want to do that because I felt like it would be like wrong and creepy, but I was also really like freaked out. Yeah, I was so excited. Yeah, so it was tough for me, but I consider that my like meeting a famous person because she was like 2 feet away from me. So I'm still getting over that.
famous wise, I've seen Tom Cruise. I've also seen whatchamacallit, Bill Murray in person, that was really weird. Like, it wasn't so much it was weird, like, why is he here type weird. From a video game standpoint, I've met quite a few, just from going to various events, and like I've met Neil Druckmann, like, okay, that is an actual one because I shook his hand and I said words with him. Same thing with Jonathan Blow. If you don't know him, he is creator behind Braid. He's also working on The Witness. I met Tim Schafer, also at the PlayStation Experience thing. It was kind of around when I was demoing Grim Fandango. There's a lot of other video game personalities that I've met in one form or another in person, but I guess I wouldn't say they're famous or something like that. But yeah, there's my list of things.
I've met Emma Roberts.
Really?
Yeah, we had a Girl Scout sort of thing one time, and they had a session where you could talk to the people, and then we could shake their hands, and like it was a meet and greet sort of thing. And it was when I got to see that Nancy Drew movie that came out years ago.
Yeah. Like
I got to see it early, but I like met her and asked her a couple questions, and it was cool because like there weren't a lot of us. It was like a small room of like Girl Scouts and their like some of their parents or leaders, and I met her. I met Stephen King in.
Oh wow!
I met him in a grocery store casually. I've met most of Aerosmith at the same exact gas station because they live near where I am.
That reminds me of that story of Steven Tyler, like just going on in like a PA system at I think like a Home Depot, and just singing a song. But
like the Aerosmith, like a lot of the members just chill. You see them around here often. I was actually an extra in the movie Bride Wars, so I met Anne Hathaway and Kristen Johnson, who was in like Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, you're done. Okay, you had a big list, so I'm like, whoa.
It got quiet. I was trying to figure. I thought somebody talked, and everything got so quiet that I got it cut. But,
that's quite a list, though.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure that's it. But they're like other people that like I've seen or I've like talked to. I guess like since I've gone to conventions, I don't know if anybody like knows anything relevant about Godzilla, but I've met Akira Takarada and
really?
Hiro Nakajima and Ben Furuya, who is the original like Ultraman like, suit actor. Like I've met quite a few people. Even if like they didn't speak English, so I couldn't talk to them sometimes. It was cool.
I mean, yeah, if you go to a convention, there's a lot of chances to just kind of meet people.
Mine is just like somebody staring at somebody on the sidewalk. So yeah. And Cal, anybody famous?
I don't think so. Actually, wait. Shane Dawson? Yeah, I think that's his name.
He's like a YouTube guy or something?
I think he has an album, and he's a YouTube person, and at the same, like, he's rising in fame. He goes to one of the schools around here.
Oh.
So I've met him once with a group of friends that were all freaking out. I don't really know who he is, but I guess he counts, because I guess I can say I knew him before he was famous. I was also on the YTV show Cooked last year, and wait, was it? Yeah, it must have been last year because my hair was longer back in the day.
That's how you keep time.
So yeah, I guess the host was he hosts most of the YTV shows, so I guess to some people he's famous, but I haven't met anybody like superly famous in my life.
Well, you all do a podcast with me every week, and that's like meeting a famous person.
Yes.
So,
yes, this is well. This is mundane for me.
Yeah, and the last question that I'm going to ask is from Quilligan, and it is, what is life? I have to give a little background to this question, though. I was testing the podcast question submission form a little while ago, and I had to fill in something as like fill it in so that the form wasn't blank, and so I typed in what is life just as a joke, and then like a week later we get this question, so that humored me a little bit, so there's that. But yeah,
that's the reason this question got chose.
What is life?
I try to think of something witty, but I really can't right now.
Yeah, I can't either.
Life is a large hazelnut iced coffee with cream and 2 sugar.
Well,
because I need that to survive sometimes. That's my witty answer.
Kingdom Hearts, his life instead of light. But yeah, that's my
Shrek
contribution.
Is love, Shrek is life.
Oh my gosh, that one too.
I don't know.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
I'm curious about your answer to this, Cass.
I want to let you guys go for a little while.
Oh, okay.
So,
you like saving the best for last? I don't know. Like, life is just kind of... If you want to get literal about it, it's kind of just being here, right? Like,
yeah.
That's life. Like, things... Like, you can't have life unless you die, right? Like, because if you can't die, then kind of, I guess that's living, but is it really?
I wanted to get a little philosophical and read into the podcast a quote that I came across recently that I just really loved and became like kind of a life philosophy thing, and it comes from Meredith Graves, who is the singer of Perfect Pussy, the band that I was talking about.
Of course it does.
It was from an interview with Brooklyn Magazine where she was just talking about herself because she's amazing and a huge inspiration to everyone, and you should all internet stalk Meredith Graves with me. But it goes... When I was 14 or 15, I was very sick and deeply depressed, a complete outcast. Think Ali Sheedy in The Breakfast Club. Kids were scared of me, and with good reason. I was walking around covered in blood all the time. I would write these weekly 8,000-word manifestos, and I would have these amazing elucidating epiphanies, like suddenly it would hit me that the reality of life is that all you can do is to be good to the people you can reach. And that stuck with me. Being a sad, depressed, crazy kid that's turned into a sad, depressed, crazy adult living her dream life, there's a lesson there. You don't have to change who you are fundamentally. There's this culture that honestly believes that success is relying on one's ability to be happy, and that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, A, that's not how capitalism works, and B, that's not how being a human how being human works. And she says things similar to this in a lot of her interviews, and you can see it in the lyrics that there is this very dark past that she's had, and that's what a lot of her lyrics deal with. But there's also this idea of being good to people, and how that is the realization that she's come out of these terrible things with, that all she can do is just be super good to people, and that is kind of what she's based her life around.
That is something more people probably should follow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a big inspiration.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just being good to people is kind of...
That's what life is.
Yeah. I can get behind that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Any other additions to that?
That was quite a quote, by the way.
It is quite a... This is the thing that's so awesome about Meredith Graves, that she is not just... like a singer and a lyricist in a band, that she does so much. She just opened her own record label. She does interviews, and she writes for Rookie Magazine, and she was a seamstress, and she works at a record store, and she does all this stuff, and she's just so accomplished and amazing, and she's 27, and she's just phenomenal and such a huge inspiration, and that, she's somebody that has had a very terrible past that, not terrible, I'm not saying her life has been but a lot of her their 2 album releases have been very much about an abusive relationship that she was in, and just turning that stuff into productivity and something that a lot of people can enjoy and relate to is awesome. So I'm obsessed with Meredith Graves right now.
I totally agree with that quote though, just because chances are there's a lot of people in this world. The chances are that if you're gonna be known for you're not gonna be known for something big, and that's my negativity right there. But if you do little nice things for people, they will remember you. I remember one day, a couple days before my exam, someone came up to me and they were like really super shy, and I didn't know them from my own grade, but I could just tell by looking at them that they were terrified. But they came and they complimented my Kingdom Hearts backpack and they started to talk to me, and I have remembered that person. I don't know their name, but I remembered that just that one little act of kindness because it made my whole day, and I still remember it. So when you do stuff like that and you're nice to people, they'll remember you, even if the rest of the world doesn't remember you. By doing that, like, small things like that, it makes things worthwhile, you know, so.
Yeah. I've always loved that idea, and that's part of, like, why I wanted to become a teacher, that, you know, you don't always realize the huge effect that you have on people's lives, but even just a little thing that you can do, somebody will remember it, like, forever. And that's awesome to me, and I want to, you know, like, have that influence as much as possible. And, like, you see that, you know, in, like, especially with artists and writers, that they get really gripped by this idea of mortality, that, you know, everybody is going to die eventually, and the only really way to be immortal is to leave some kind of mark on the world. So, like, a lot of people achieve that through art, but, you know, another way is just achieving that through, like, people's memories of you. And it reminds me of a Softer World comic. Softer World is, like, my favorite. And they're always, like, kind of, like, bittersweet, I guess. But one of them was, you won't live forever in their memories, the way you treated them will. So just because I like that idea, you know, that people will remember the way that you treat them. And the subtext to that comic is also, it's not forever because they'll die too, which is, you know, kind of just how a Softer World works. But yeah, that's the idea, and the kind of the way that I think is good to live life, you know, like, do things that will change somebody's life for the better, even if it's something little. Yeah. Ending on an inspirational note with these questions, I think. So we do have plenty more user-submitted questions to go through on future episodes. I didn't want to flush everything out so that we wouldn't be, like, lost for the next couple weeks. But yeah, so we did get to go through our backlog, which is good, because I know a lot of people ask, like, when will my question be answered? And we do more or less answer every question, unless it's been, like, a repeat or, like, something about the topic for the day. Like, if we got a question about, like, the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer, obviously we did a whole episode on that, so we're not going to answer a question about it. So yeah, we do try to answer every question. And once again, you can submit questions to the KH-Vids Podcast by filling out the form linked with every episode of the podcast, or send an email to podcast@KH-Vids.net. So now would be time to talk about community news and projects. I don't really have anything.
I just have the game of the month for May.
Go ahead.
Which, vote please. May is another one of those weird months where nothing's coming out, so it's like
Final Fantasy X remaster.
That is true. I didn't include that just because I tried to not put repeats on. Like, it was the same last month when Dark Souls 2 came out. Like, I don't want to put this on there again, even if I'm struggling to come up with games, because that'd just be weird.
Yeah.
Right now it's tied between The Witcher 3, which I'm actually looking forward to The Witcher 3, and Splatoon. With 2 votes each. Splatoon is out, I believe, at the end of the month of May. Same with The Witcher. I think that's out near the end of the month. And there's really nothing else coming out.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few indie games coming out. There's that Wolfenstein expansion / game coming out. But yeah, May is boring. June should be interesting. No, June's going to be boring too.
Yeah.
Because Batman. But
okay, so that kind of finishes off our podcast. So hopefully your questions got answered, and if they didn't, then they'll probably be on a future episode. So different ways that you can participate in the podcast. Like I said, you can submit questions. You can submit to be a guest on the KH-Vids Podcast by filling out the form linked with every episode of the podcast. All you need is a Skype account, a microphone, and headphones, and we would love to have you aboard. You can submit a topic to the KH-Vids Podcast by filling out the form linked in the sticky in the podcast section. You can also suggest spoiler casts in there. So if there is a game or a movie or something that you just watched or finished that you really want to hear us talk about, submit it for a spoiler cast and maybe join us for that episode. So yeah, and of course you can always leave us a comment on every podcast episode telling us your thoughts on what we talked about and answering our user submitted questions. So I'd like to hear.
You have a lot of questions answered to this week.
So please answer our questions. Let us know what you thought of some of the questions and our answer and all that, because that's what we like to hear, and I like to reply to you guys. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and have a kingdom.